You wrote, when Arabs for years maintained that Israel and the West are actual allies of Takfiri groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS, they were accused by Westerners of conspiracy theory promotion. Ben Rhodes admits it in his first book that he advocated. Ben Rhodes admits in his first book that he advocated for a U.S. alliance with Al-Qaeda. And of course, Ben Rhodes was a foreign policy advisor for Barack Obama. So can
Deputy
you...
National Security Advisor. He was very high ranking and a speechwriter.
Yeah,
speechwriter,
speechwriter,
Deputy
right?
National Security Advisor and speechwriter. And the book in which he mentioned that, admits that, was The World as It Is, his first book. Yeah.
So can you elaborate on what you're referring to in that tweet?
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, the United States was clearly involved in wars that destroyed societies. Iraqi societies and state were destroyed by the United States and its allies. The Libyan society and state were destroyed by America and its allies. Syrian society and state were destroyed by the United States and its ally. There was a war in Syria, no doubt about it. And there were two sides. There was a Syrian government, the Syrian regime, which later was supported by Hezbollah, Iran, and Russia. And there was the other side, which was supported by Gulf government and the West. And the war was not about democracy. Neither side is democratic. I am not a fan of either side in the Syrian war, but there is no question about it. The side of Al Qaeda and ISIS and the likes were supported by the United States, as they are now. Syrian analyst Joshua Landis just today wrote also that there's clear evidence that the United States now is militarily supporting the Al Qaeda in Syria. I still call it by its original name, Al Qaeda, because Qatar pressured them, because they support them, to rebrand themselves and make a new name. And they came with Tahrir Al-Sham, but it means still Al Qaeda.
Right.
The ideology is still the same. They have changed in so regard. And there's a militia that the United States created, and it's also supporting this, a revolt or war that started 2 days ago. I'm sure you remember in the batch of emails with Hillary Clinton that were released or leaked, there was one in which Jake Sullivan, the same Jake Sullivan who's National Security Advisor today to Biden, said to Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State, Al-Qaeda in Syria, these are our guys.
Right.
I mean, do I have to be conspiracy theory minded to say there is links between the United States government and these groups?
So what is happening now in Syria?
Here is part of the Israeli regional plan to branch out and attack all the branches, elements of the Iranian resistance axis. So they went after the Palestinians, they went after the Lebanese branch, and the Syrian government, while it avoids any fight with Israel, it has avoided any fight with Israel since 1973, but it has, over the years, its relationship with Hezbollah has gone up and down, by the way, Katie. In 1987, when Syrian army entered Lebanon, they massacred Hezbollah members in Beirut, massacred them. And there was a lot of conflict between the two sides. But in late 90s and afterwards, especially in Bashar al-Assad's time, there was a lot of cooperation between Syria and Hezbollah, and they assisted them with weapons and supplies and so on. So Israel wanted to go after that, and they are using these militias and armed groups that have been sponsored and assisted and armed by the coalition of Western governments and the United States and Gulf governments and Israel.
Really quick, I just wanted to show everyone, here's the email that Assad was referencing, and here is the statement he was...
Okay, so it's this is from Jake Sullivan to Hillary. See last item, Al-Qaeda is on our side in Syria. Otherwise, things have basically turned out as expected.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, could it be more blatant?
Yeah.
Could it be more blatant than that? Al-Qaeda is on our side in Syria. That's amazing. If only Americans know Al-Qaeda, the same organization behind the horrors of September 11. If only Americans know. It's amazing. Qatar is very close to these groups, especially to Al-Qaeda in Syria. And they basically pressured them to rebrand themselves, to get rid of the religious garbs. They ordered the leader of the group to dress in civilian clothes, and they couldn't convince him to shave his beard, though. And they changed the name to Hayat Tahrir Al-Sham to make it related to Syria, because Sham is Syria in Arabic. And so they removed the name of Al-Qaeda. But it's interesting that when Hezbollah actually changed its ideology over the years, the United States always maintains, no, 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 this is terrorist
Right.
organization. It was terrorist, and we can never forgive that. But when it comes to Al Qaeda of Bin Laden, behind September 11, the United States is willing not only to forgive them because they changed the name, but also to make alliances with them.
And what is the motive behind the U.S. alliance with
It's
this
all about Israel.
rebranded?
All about Israel. Syrian government allows resupply of Hezbollah in Lebanon, and that's bothersome to Israel. So we need to basically the United States would like to disarm the entire Middle East so that Israeli aggression can live in peace. That's all it is. That's all it's about. This is why the United States, they tell you, United States has agreement to train Arab armies. They train the lousiest armies in the world. Look at the army they trained in Iraq. It surrendered to ISIS. Look at the army they trained in Afghanistan. It surrendered to Taliban. Look at the army they've been training, the Lebanese army. They gave it 2 billion in 20 years. And basically, it's like a police force. It cannot even disassemble a checkpoint in some area or a fight between two gangs. That's what they want. They want us without arms. So if Israel kill us, we won't fight back. That is the military recipe that the U.S. has for our region.
And what do you have to say to people who will say, will you condemn Assad or but Assad? He's done this, he's done that, he's killed his people. What is your response to people who either say that we should support the rebels, quote unquote rebels, or do say like they're both bad, so it doesn't matter who's in power?
Well, personally, I have no qualms of condemning Assad, which I've done over the years. I was banned in 1990s from going to Lebanon because of an article I wrote in English that was considered by the Lebanese and the Syrian government and their security services to be offensive to Hafez al-Assad. I can easily, and I've wrote petitions against the Syrian government and cracked down on liberties and so on. But the reality is today, there are two camps in the Middle East. There's one camp that includes Israel as a major element, and there's another camp that is opposed to Israel. So you get to choose. You choose, even if you have, total aversion to some of the elements of the other camp.
Right.
But one camp has Israel. For me, opposition to Israel is a clear criterion in judging and evaluating regional alliances in the Middle East region.
Ironically, I'm sure that the anti-Semitism is exists among the rebels, and much more than it does among the secular Baathists.
Well, among the rebels, they hate Christians, they hate Druze,
right? They're evil opportunity, right?
They hate Shia, they hate Ismailis. They hate Yazid. The list is way too long, way too long.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Anything else you wanted to mention, or any final words? You've been so incredibly generous with your time, and we definitely have to have you back. People are already saying you have to come back.
Thank you so much, Katie. I just want to say in conclusion, especially to people in our region, if there's anything listening or watching this, is that what happened over the last year and a half is very depressing and very traumatizing. All of us are affected deeply and will be scarred for many years throughout our life. I have no doubt about it. But the key ingredient is do not let despair to set in. That's what Zionists want. We need to fight despair, and we need to keep hope, and we need to think rationally about elements of hope. And one of them is the Zionist project is not sustainable. It has existed by virtue of American support. It will continue to exist, but it's not sustainable. How many more Palestinians you will kill? It's like Nazi Germany wanted to kill Jews and more Jews and more Jews. Eventually, it fell down. I think eventually the same with Israel. However, it doesn't fall. The Zionist project will not collapse on its own. We need people to have faith, to have hope, and we also need people in the Middle East, especially, that they will believe in their own abilities, their own agency, in order to resist aggression and genocide. And they have been doing.